Starting a family is a life-changing moment. And for NHS staff, understanding family leave pay is essential to planning your finances and time off. In this video, we'll walk you through the full spectrum of family leave rights and pay entitlements in the NHS, including maternity, paternity, adoption, shared parental leave, and unpaid parental leave, as well as an additional tip that not many have heard about. We'll explain what each type of leave means, how long it lasts, how the pay works, when it starts, and the key rules you need to know. All based on NHS terms and the official policies, not just statutory minimums. With that being said, sit back, relax, and let's take a deeper dive into the data. Let's start with maternity leave and pay, often the biggest family leave entitlement. In the NHS, maternity leave is available to employees who are having a baby, including employees on agenda for change contracts or under similar NHS terms. You're entitled to up to 52 weeks maternity leave. That's a full year away from work to welcome and care for your child. Maternity leave can usually start as early as 11 weeks before your baby's expected due date, but many NHS staff choose to start closer to the birth. It automatically starts if you go off sick with a pregnancy-related issue in the 4 weeks before your due date. There are two main types of maternity pay. Statutory maternity pay, which is the legal minimum required by the UK government, and occupational maternity pay, which is offered on top of SMP but at the employer's discretion. In this case, the NHS. Statutory pay is paid for the first 39 weeks, while occupational pay is for the first 26. There are different rules on who is eligible for each type. To be eligible for SMP, you must have been in continuous employment with one employer for at least 26 weeks, ending with the 15th week before your expected week of childbirth. Statutory pay is for the first 39 weeks of your maternity leave and is paid at a set rate. First, 6 weeks, 90% of your average weekly earnings before tax. Next 33 weeks, the lower of either £187 and 18 pence or 90% of average weekly earnings. If you're not eligible for SMP, you may be eligible for a maternity allowance, so it's worth discussing with your employer's HR department for advice. To be eligible for the addition of occupational maternity pay, you usually must have 1 year of continuous employment with the NHS, not necessarily the same trust, without a break of more than 3 months, by the time of 11 weeks before your expected week of childbirth. Your NHS maternity pay is calculated on the basis of your average weekly earnings for the 8 weeks ending with the qualifying week, which is usually the 15th week before your expected week of childbirth. While policies can vary slightly by trust, the full NHS maternity pay usually follows a tiered pattern. 8 weeks of full pay, inclusive of statutory pay, next 18 weeks at half pay, plus any SMP, provided the total doesn't exceed your normal full pay. Next, 13 weeks, statutory pay only. Last 13 weeks is unpaid leave. Your employment terms, for example, your pension contributions, are protected while you're on maternity leave. It is also worth noting that some employers stipulate a return to work period post-maternity leave, and failing this may require repayment of the NHS maternity pay, so make sure you check this with your HR. Next up is paternity leave and pay for partners of the parent giving birth, including fathers, spouses, civil partners, and long-term partners. If you qualify, you're generally entitled to up to 2 weeks paternity leave and pay. Paternity leave is usually taken in one 2-week block or 2 separate 1-week blocks, and is used within the first 52 weeks after the birth of the child, though arrangements can vary slightly by trust. The criteria is the same as for maternity pay, so the 2 weeks will either be at the statutory minimum, lower of £187 and 18 pence or 90% of average weekly earnings, or full pay depending on the previously mentioned eligibility. Paternity leave is a short but valuable window to spend time caring for your new baby and supporting your partner, and it's completely separate from shared parental leave, which we'll cover next. Shared parental leave and shared parental pay are options that allow you and your partner to share up to 50 weeks of leave and up to 37 weeks of pay after a birth or adoption, giving much more flexibility in how you both take time off. After the compulsory 2 weeks of maternity or adoption leave is taken by the primary carer, the remaining untaken leave and pay can be converted into shared parental leave. So if someone takes the minimum 2 weeks, the remaining 50 weeks of leave and up to 37 weeks of pay can be shared between both parents. It's effectively a similar structure as enhanced maternity or adoption pay, just split and shared. And if both parents are NHS employees, they can coordinate how that enhanced pay is distributed between them. Shared parental leave can be taken in blocks separated by working periods, or all at once, depending on the family's plans. Parental leave is a different entitlement, which provides eligible employees with the right to take dedicated unpaid leave for each child while protecting employment rights. For each child, you are entitled to 18 weeks leave, up until the child's 18th birthday. The limit on how much parental leave each parent can take in a year is 4 weeks for each child. Unlike maternity or paternity leave, parental leave is unpaid, and it's most often used for things like settling a new child into childcare or schools, or dealing with unexpected family circumstances. To qualify, you generally need at least 12 months continuous service and must provide appropriate notice to your manager. This leave can be taken in blocks of usually 1 week at a time, though some trusts may allow it to be taken in smaller increments. Because it's unpaid, parental leave is mostly about flexibility rather than income, and it does not reduce your entitlement to other family leave types. Adoption leave and pay in the NHS follows very similar rules to maternity leave, but is designed for employees who are adopting a child. This includes placements by recognised adoption agencies or fostering for adoption arrangements. If you're eligible, you can take up to 52 weeks adoption leave, a full year total, which typically starts from when the child is placed with you, or, in some fostering to adopt situations, when the placement first begins. Adoption pay in the NHS is structured to mirror maternity pay as closely as possible. Full pay in the early weeks, followed by half pay, plus statutory pay, then statutory only, then unpaid leave. Like maternity pay, statutory adoption pay is £187.18 per week, or 90% of average weekly earnings, whichever is lower, and qualifying conditions include appropriate service length and notice requirements. One crucial detail: only one parent can take adoption leave in relation to a specific adoption placement, the primary adopter. The other parent may be eligible for paternity pay and leave. So, let's summarise the timeline for family leave, assuming 1 year of continuous employment with the NHS. Maternity leave, up to 52 weeks total. First 8 weeks, full pay. Next, 18 weeks, half pay, plus statutory pay. Next, 13 weeks, statutory pay. Final 13 weeks, unpaid leave. Paternity leave, up to 2 weeks fully paid. Adoption leave, up to 52 weeks, mirroring maternity pay. Shared parental leave, ability to share up to 50 weeks of leave, and 37 weeks of pay after initial 2 weeks are taken. Parental leave, up to 18 weeks unpaid leave for each child until age 18. One final nugget that many NHS staff miss is keeping in touch days during family leave. Keeping in touch days are days that employees can work during their maternity or adoption leave without ending their leave or affecting their pay entitlements. While on maternity or adoption leave, you can agree with your employer to work up to 10 of these days without ending your leave or affecting your pay. For shared parental leave, you may be able to work up to 20 shared keeping in touch days, again without losing your leave or pay rights. These are optional and must be agreed with your manager, but they can be a great way to stay involved or ease back into work. A common question NHS staff ask is what happens if you have more than one baby, especially if the pregnancies or adoptions are close together. Each pregnancy or adoption is treated as a separate entitlement under NHS policy. You are still entitled to maternity, adoption, or shared parental leave each time. However, how much you are paid can change depending on your earnings in the qualifying period and whether you return to work in between. If you become pregnant again while still on maternity leave, or shortly after returning, you are still entitled to take maternity leave. The key issue is how your maternity pay is calculated. NHS maternity pay is based on your average weekly earnings for the 8 weeks up to and including the 15th week before your expected week of childbirth. Now, the good news is that if this period falls while you are already on maternity leave and you are receiving less than your basic salary, for example, you are on SMP, the earnings shall be calculated based on notional full pay. This means that you will always have a basic level of protection. However, you will lose out on the additional earnings that you may have managed to squeeze in the first time around. There is no minimum amount of time you must return to work before becoming eligible for another period of maternity leave. However, to get the most out of NHS contractual maternity pay, you generally need to return to work, resume receiving your normal contractual pay, and meet the earnings test again. Even a relatively short return to work can significantly improve maternity pay for a subsequent pregnancy. There is no lifetime limit on how many times you can receive NHS maternity pay, provided the eligibility rules are met each time. If you have a multiple births, such as twins or triplets, NHS maternity leave is not extended. You are still entitled to up to 52 weeks of maternity leave, and the maternity pay structure remains the same. There is no additional NHS maternity pay for each baby, although you may be entitled to additional statutory benefits outside of NHS employment. The same principles apply to adoption and shared parental leave. Each adoption placement or qualifying birth is treated separately, but eligibility for paid leave depends on meeting service and earnings requirements each time. Shared parental leave pay is also limited by how much maternity or adoption pay remains unused, which means back-to-back pregnancies can reduce flexibility if this is not planned carefully. The key takeaway is that the NHS does not limit how many times you can take family leave. However, the timing between pregnancies or adoptions can have a major impact on how much you are paid. Understanding these rules in advance can make a significant financial difference when planning a growing family. Family leave pay in the NHS is complex, but it's designed to support you during one of the most important phases of your life, welcoming and caring for a child. Please remember that policy can vary slightly between trusts, and eligibility often depends on length of service and notice requirements, so planning ahead and talking to HR early is crucial. If you found this video useful, then please hit the like button below and subscribe for more UK-specific finance explainers, especially for NHS staff. Please let me know in the comments what NHS finance topic you'd like me to dive into next. Thanks for watching, and congratulations to all new and growing NHS families.